Putting together a board portfolio that's going to sustain you for many years is not an easy task. It does require a lot of strategic thought. It requires really deep business networks. It requires having a stellar brand and reputation. And, it is a very rewarding pathway and potentially a very lucrative pathway. I was watching a podcast from Mark Bouris the other day, and he was talking about the challenges that we're all facing with regards to how much superannuation we have put away. The reality is that very few people are going to be able to retire at the age of 65. And, even if you did have funds to retire at age 65, most likely those funds are going to run out because most superannuation funds have been geared for, on the basis that you're going to live to, your mid 80s, not into the hundreds. His overarching advice was, forget about retirement and learn to love work. I'm personally not a big fan of retirement because I think it's a really easy way to sort of lose touch, lose your purpose and your meaning in life. And there's a lot of cultures around the world that literally people do not have a retirement age. They work all the way through and they're always doing something of contribution to society and being a meaningful, contributor. The benefit of board portfolio is it is an absolutely amazing way to transition from being a senior business executive to being able to work meaningfully in the business community for decades. And we have board members who are literally in their late 70s and even early 80s who are working and serving on boards very successfully. And of course, you can still generate quite a nice income through this work, and it enables you to have a little bit of balance in your later years. So it is the culmination of a very successful corporate career, and so it's highly desirable. And it is important, though, to put the planning in place. And I was speaking to a couple of clients during the week who were asking me about developing a board portfolio and that their end game was to eventually have board seats, do advisory work, maybe do some mentoring in their later years. And my strong advice was start early. Pick up those initial board seats in your 40s, your 50s, have them running alongside your main employment contract. Make the time to build out the business networks. Because what we see time and time again is senior executives who maybe have been partners in big four accounting firms or in the big law firms. They have found, starting from a flat start to try and build out a board portfolio, incredibly difficult. And the reality is that you need to have some runs on the board, and now the talent pool is aware of that, and so you're up against a lot more competition, and people are coming to the table with several board experiences. And if you're trying to sort of start your career at 65 and start to build up board experience, well, you've kind of missed at least a decade of experience that could have been nicely cultivated sitting alongside a main employment contract. I do think board portfolios, career portfolios, are the way of the future. People are going to have to think very seriously about those retirement years in terms of how you're going to sustain yourself financially and have quality of life, and more importantly, how you're going to stay active and engaged in the business community. Now, if you're fortunate enough and you have the big windfalls and you've got plenty of money sort of stashed away and you can go and live a leisurely later life, I just leave you with this one thought. My father actually retired and had, the big windfall, the big sale of the business, and went into retirement. And within 2 years, he was crawling the walls, out of boredom. Didn't really like just playing golf, on a Wednesday, and was really craving getting back into a business sort of setting. And I think you want to be very cautious about exiting the corporate world because it's very hard to come back into it once you've left. So keep all of those things in mind and be very conscious of your own, the way you tick and the way you like to operate so that you don't make a bad decision about exiting a corporate market too early. But I certainly see in the future there's going to be a lot more people looking to develop a board portfolio and starting that process early so that you're going to be successful in the long term.